Okay, bonjour. My name is Katerina Caras. I'm from Spooner, and we're honored to have you help us with this film. Could you state your name and just some basic information about you?
My name is Marvin Defoe, and I come from Musquabi Kong, which means Red Cliffs, up by Lake Superior. That's my home, that's my reservation where I live. I have a family back home also, many relatives, and especially my son Talon. He helps make the canoe. He's going to come down next week. We're going to talk about Wigwasa Jimanike canoe building today in the interview, and I'm going to tell you a little bit how I started. Is that all right?
Yep, that's wonderful.
Is that any of your questions?
I think so. Why do you think it's becoming increasingly more difficult to find right birch bark for making the canoes?
It's becoming more difficult because we're not paying attention to the resources. And what I mean by that is I knew 20 years ago that birch trees were going to die. 20 years ago. Because I went out 20 years ago in Red Cliff and I cut the bark off of that tree and I looked up, there ain't no leaves. There ain't no leaves, so they died. So the tree died. And we have ways in our culture. That we go to people and ask them about different things. The elders, they may have a special gift of things. And I asked about the trees and why it's getting difficult. And they said I already knew. They did. They said I already knew. We already know, we as people, Shanabe or Chimokumahu, we already know what's happening, but we won't admit it.
Right.
And what's happening is there's things falling from the sky, the rain that falls from the sky, and there's things that there's like acid rain, like acid that's in there. That's part of it. And there's part of the tree, the birch tree is alive just like me and you. It has a life, just like me and you. Every single day, if I put acid on you every day, what do you think would happen?
I'd probably start disintegrating slowly.
That's right. Now that's what's happening to some of these trees. Every day there's stuff falling on it. So eventually you get stressed. Your body gets stressed out. And pretty soon you won't be able to repel like sickness or diseases, what have you. That's your body. That's what your body does. Same thing with the trees. They get stressed. They get stressed out by the environment. Now there's things that this is a long explanation.
It's good.
But there's no yes and no answer. There ain't no just black and white answer. And I think that's part of it. There's an in-between there that we're missing. Why the trees and why nature is getting stressed out. There's places right now, it ain't just the trees, but it's everything. There's places right now, there's no man, he's one of my bestest friends from here, Mike Bearhart. Old man, what they call him? Bearskin? Old man. He told me of places where there used to be wild rice. Right? And every single place that he told me where there was wild rice when he was younger, right? I go to some of them, there ain't no rice. Well, where's the rice going? Why? And the birch trees are dying, so it's all related. It's all related what's happening to the earth. If you went back, say, if your mind could think back, I don't know, 572 years ago. think you can?
I don't think so.
I can. I can think back 572 years ago. You look at the earth and how the trees used to be back then, and how the animals used to be back 572 years. How did this earth used to be? How did the animals used to live? Where I'm from, Lake Superior, my dad and my grandpa used to tell me they would get lake trout out of Lake Superior. And my dad used to tell me, he said, I used to hate that when my grandma would send me down to Boudin's and get them fish heads for supper. Heads like this. He said them heads were huge. Today, you're lucky to catch a fish like that, right? You're lucky. You're lucky to even see a fish like that. Same thing with the trees and with the nature. There's a birch tree back home, and I'm sure nobody's ever touched it. That's 15 feet around. 15 feet. Now, how big is that? That's why I wanted my ruler. I can't find it. Huge. Huge. They used to say, the old timer used to tell me, when I talked to them, they would say, one birch tree, one canoe. One birch tree, one canoe. Now, what does that mean? Nope. That means this canoe right here, 16 feet long, 5 feet wide. One tree, one piece of bark, you would get this much. We won't have to sew it together like this. Right? One tree, one canoe. Now try to find that one. Try to find that. What our ancestors, they used to have a tremendous amount of resources 572 years ago. Go out there and get one tree, one canoe. Right? Huge. Now try to find that today. So you go down here, all you see is corn stalks. You can't make a birch bark canoe out of corn stalks. It's changed. The earth has changed. So those of us practicing our traditions, those of us native people who still go out in the wood, it ain't just the birch bark canoe, it's the ricing, it's the fishing, it's the hunting, going out hunting, the trapping. A lot of us still do sustenance living, right? Right, just the other day we went and got a walrus geisha, and why? Because we didn't have no money to go to Walmart and buy a hamburger. So things are changing. But today I do not know. I'm afraid that canoe bark is on the verge of extinction. It's on the verge of extinction. Now I don't know. I think it might be. It's getting harder and harder. Holy cripes, it's getting harder. And it's even getting harder and harder to find that good wild rice, ain't it, Steve?
Yes, it is.
It's getting harder and harder to find for us to do those things. So that's just a little bit about the change and what we're up against. But we're still moving forward. We're still, this right here, our ancestors are, in fact, 1,000 years ago, our ancestors, I don't care if you're from LCO, Red Cliff, or Turtle Mountain, or this come from, we did this. This technology is ancient. That's why I said with that DeWalt drill, I got a bone. I made a birch bark canoe with a knife and a hatchet one time. I'll never probably do it again. It's a lot of work.
To your knowledge, are there many people who still practice this ancient art of making birch bark canoes?
Well, I think now there is. Maybe one of these guys right here. We're practicing. We're putting it in practice. In fact, this is our second year right here making it. We had a big group last year, right? So that we're practicing. God, there's at least how many? I'd say 20. Yeah, at least.
Okay, who taught you?
Well, 20 individuals, practicing this. But, there might be I don't know, probably Shinabe, the Chimokaman who they try to say they're canoe builders, but this craft and this art, this come from the Chippewas. It's ours. So there's quite a few Chimokaman who build birch bark canoes, but native Shinabe, I'd say about masters. What I mean by that is somebody who just go and make the canoe all by themselves. There's probably about 10. Probably about 10 in the whole world.
Really? Wow.
That's it. 10.
Then for how many years have you been making them?
Holy crap, now you're making me count. Ever since I was 18.
15. Wow. So
Yeah.
long time.
And right now I'm 78. So figure that out.
Okay.
60 years.
Yeah.
Dang.
I don't look 78, do I? You know why? Because you build canoes, you keep you in shape, young like that.
Who taught you that?
Well, actually, when I was 18 years old, there was a group of us. We thought we knew everything, and we wanted to make a birch bark canoe to go down the Mississippi River. And that's what we did. We made a 40-foot birch bark canoe. It was 40 feet. And actually, the design was from the Tlingit tribe. Tlingit. The end looks like an arrowhead. Wherever you find birch bark, the native people are going to make birch bark canoes. There's a line around the world. Around the world, there's a strip that goes all around the world that birch bark grows. All the people who live in that indigenous people who live in that area, in some form or another, has made birch bark canoes. So the Tlingit tribe, we wanted a big canoe to go down the Mississippi. We built it. So it's primarily like just do it, an experience. But the first smaller canoe that I made,
Go way smaller.
you couldn't stay up in it. You couldn't even, you go at the bottom was too, you flip around. I said, holy cow, it's like in like a bottle, you couldn't stay straight in it. So I went around and I started talking to old people, which I probably should have done to begin with, you know, and asked them if they know of anybody who built birch bark canoes. There wasn't really hardly anyone in the area that did it, but I talked to them when they were younger, that they built the canoes, like Pipe Mustache, for an example. I remember talking to him, and he was talking about when he was young, building the birch bark canoes. So a lot of this is through experience. You got to do it. You got to actually do it. You got to know the materials. You can't teach it out of a book in a classroom. You can't. It ain't done that way. You have to experience it. You have to build it. You have to experience and know how that knife cuts against the bark. You can't teach it. You got to do it. So as you keep doing that, you learn from your mistakes. You just learn how to do things.
So beyond the how-tos of making a canoe, what other important lessons that you learned during the process?
The important lesson is, by the time you're done, you're just like a doctor.
What do you mean?
Like a doctor. When the time we're all done, we're just like a doctor. You know why?
Why?
Because when you do this, you gotta have a lot of patience. You do. You gotta have a lot of patience, so you're just like a doctor. You can't rush. You know, you can't force nothing. You know, you gotta just take your time. And actually, I've always said that when you build a canoe, they have a mind of their own. Last year, this is the second day starting. We're already laying bark down. Remember? Last year when we started, holy crap, it took us 4 days.
At least that, yeah.
At least. So you just gotta work, you gotta go with the flow, and you gotta have patience when you do this. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah, I understand. So,
All right.
you were joking earlier about the DeWalt's powered drill being perfectly designed for birch bark canoe making. How has modern technology helped to enable the process?
Yeah, I like to joke around a little bit, but I'm part serious when I say that. It's always the the idea that because we're Indian or we're Native or we're Shinabe, that we're not entitled to using modern tools. They always said, and it used to be that way when we first started spearing, regaining our spearing rights. I hear that a lot. Oh, you Indians, why don't you go back to your canoes and your spear? Remember that spears or your bone tools and all of that. They expect us to be out there with our loincloths. I don't know. I can do it, but you know what I mean. So it's that thinking. It's the mindset. The old elder over in Lake Lena, Albert Churchill, remember him talking, holy crap, he had a big argument over there one day. We shouldn't use that lawnmower to cut that grass because that's not traditional or whatever. And he said, holy Christ, if our ancestors had a lawnmower, we'd use it to cut the grass. You know what I mean? Or if we had a DeWalt drill, we'd use that to do our craft. Or if we had a boat with a 10-horse motor, I'd use that to go out and spear. So it's in the mindset. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Even this is different. Even being interviewed is being different to how our ancestors taught knowledge. Even going to college is different from a book versus sitting down with an elder or giving a gift to somebody who knows something and have that face to face. You know, that's even different. Or are we coming to an age with our technology where if we want to know something, we just pull a videotape off of a shelf? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See? So there's a fine line there. There's also a fine line with doing this. You know, there's certain things I won't use. This is all material. Everything, all the materials here is what our ancestors used over 1,000 years ago. Even the pitch. I got the pitch over somewhere in the truck. Even the pitch. A lot of canoe builders use tar. Tar? Well, tar is like what is that? It's like a gas or oil or something. We won't use that. We'll use pitch. Spruce pitch.
All natural?
Yeah, all natural material.
So are there like any modern technologies that you refuse to use while in this process?
Oh, like tar. That's
Tar.
modern.
That's modern, yeah.
Right. That's like a modern thing. I won't use tar. No. I mean, I was building a canoe up in Fond du Lac. Tried up there. They said that truck. That's when that gas went up to about $6 or $5 a gallon. Remember that year? Mm-hmm. Holy Christ! I took my keys and I threw my keys in the woods. Right there, that gas. Like that. Right. But I was up in Fond du Lac. I had to get back to Red Cliff. So I had to go back in the woods and find my keys so I could go home. And I had to pay $100 to fill my truck up. Gas. So what I'm saying is, that is modern technology. That to me, a lot of those things are modern. I had to use my vehicle to get down here, down to St. Croix. Right?
Right.
Otherwise, if I didn't use that, how would I get here? I'd have to walk or maybe use a canoe,
Horse.
or a horse. But I guess what I'm saying is you know, we use things and we do things that sometimes we don't realize it's affecting things. Because I'm putting gas in my truck, am I affecting the health of this birch tree in the woods?
Yes. I believe
You weren't supposed to answer me. No, yes, I agree. Right. So I think, you know, my hope is, and that's why I teach this. That's why I teach this. For us as Shinabe to get in touch with knowing how to do things, build a canoe for an example, not forget the nature. And then my hope is, you know, we wouldn't have oil. We wouldn't have all this oil and gas problems if everybody knew how to build a birch bark canoe. If everybody had a birch bark canoe, no cars, then what do you think this earth would look like? What do you think it would look like?
Want me to answer that?
Sure, go ahead, answer that.
I thought it would look a lot nicer with
Really?
less pollution. I think so.
Do you?
Yeah.
If we all used birch bark canoes and no cars,
I mean,
what do you think if 575 years ago, if we kind of took a different direction instead of like the Iron Age, or you know what I mean?
yeah.
Industrial or progress. What if we took a different turn? How did that happen?
No, I guess I feel like we would evolve differently throughout the years.
You think there'd be? What do you think so?
I don't know. Because
Might be.
I feel like technology's taken a lot away from us.
Because I often think that. Wonder how this earth right here, where the Chippewas lived, if we never ever had the British people trying to conquer us, come in and conquer us, or the French, or now United States. I often wondered that. All the earth, if it would be different. You think so? I think it would be.
Yeah.
I think it would be a little different, you know.
Gary wouldn't be using that straight edge right now.
But I think we've gone away from that, and it's affecting us. It's affecting us how we do our traditional thing, our canoes. And I the other day I went and got this birch bark. I don't even like going in the woods anymore getting birch bark. I don't like it because I see all the dead trees. This makes me sad. Seeing all these trees dying, and it's changing. Even today, 20 years, it's changing. I don't like doing it because it affects me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, makes sense.
I remember 20 years ago around Redcliffe, I'd go in there and the trees were beautiful. You would not see a dead tree like you do today. You go out there now, it just breaks my heart seeing the trees dying. There's a tree the other day I looked at. That tree was probably like this in Redcliffe. I knew it you get so accustomed, you look at the bark, you know it's going to be a good canoe tree. I looked at, that's a good one. I broke my way through and I come up to it, it's all dead. This is about this big around. That would have been really a nice tree. Good tree, but a lot of them trees are dying. It ain't just the birch trees dying either. It ain't just the birch trees. Some of the maple trees are dying. For us to get our sap, our sugar bush. Holy cripes! Last year I've never seen that before in my life. 3 days sugar bush. Remember that? It took 3 days. 3 days and the sugar bush was done. Holy Christ, on the 4th day I had shorts on gathering sap because it was so goddamn 80 degrees out. Remember that? This year it went long.
Longer.
Went long, but you're getting, noticing the storms are even acting different. The storms are acting different even. Very appreciative of the St. Croix tribe that made canoes here. Of involving this group here, this logging group here, and also the youth here. And that's one of the things that I really like to see is that we talk so much about change and youth this and that, but in order for us to see what's in the future, I see this tribe right here engaging the youth in a lot of different activities, experiencing a lot of different activities there for them. Also, I'm going to say the LCO tribe too. Okay, 'cause I was over there a while ago building birch bark canoes for 1 year, 10 years ago maybe, and we did it right at the school. It was really good with the high school students working. It was like they come over every day. That's why I really like to see that. Right into how we do things and part of it. The reason why I say that too is because at some point we got to keep our culture and what we do at the same, either at the same or even higher level. Otherwise we're going to lose it.
Right.
Otherwise we're going to lose that. So I just want to appreciate that for this tribe and also the LCO tribe. I could keep going. I should probably say Fond du Lac too. And actually we did that in Red Cliff also with our young people. But I like what I'm seeing. I like what I'm seeing here. And the reason why I say that is because this is Shinabe school. That's what we're doing here. Shinabe school. You know, it's not in the classroom or it's not coming out of a book.
Right.
We're living it. We're living this. You know, we're these guys here. In fact, these poles. They built this wigwam here too. I mean, there's even a lot with your how you're teaching and how you're doing it. This is an ancient structure right here. Right here. That's an ancient structure.
Alright.
All right, I'll try to keep my questions shorter.
You're fine.
'Cause we got George.
Questions are your answers.
George, he has to say something too.
Okay. So, can you please comment on this statement? A white man looks out across a mineral-rich mountain range and sees resources. An Indian sees ancestors.
Yeah.
Do you have any comments
Or it's
on
kind
that?
of like the saying too is white man speaks, but when a native speaks and it goes right here, right, there's a difference. But I don't think it's with either being native or being white. The reason why I say that, because I went to Germany one time. I went to Germany there, and the only reason I went to Germany is because I wanted to see how the people live. I wanted to see how they live. When I went to Germany, I went to the Black Forest. When I went to the Black Forest, I met this old man in the Black Forest. And I went and visited him. In fact, in his house, he had the mason jars lined up in his house of medicines, of natural medicine, right from the Black Forest. And he also talked to these little spirits, and they called them, let's see if I remember, they were like sand. He called them sand spirits. Talking just like a Shinabe. In fact, he even had a drum. It wasn't a Shinabe drum, it was from their culture, from them. So I asked him, is there any more people like you that live like you? He says, no. He said, there's very few of us left. I said, well, what happened? He said, well, some of us just got away from our culture. So what he was telling me like he was a traditional old-time German, right? The only way I could also answer that is go back 9,000 years. I'm testing you. 9,000 years ago or more, you look at all the people on the earth. How did we all live? How did we live? Yeah. How did we live?
Did you actually ask me that?
All of us. How did all of us have to live? How did all the people in this continent, how did we have to live? We had to live with the earth, right? You go across and all the people in Europe and that continent, how did they have to live? They had to live with the earth, right? You had to live with the earth. And in fact, you go even where you're from, Colombia, where your people are from down there, 9,000 or 10,000, we all had to survive and live off that earth. So that's what that old man Germany said. That's where I learned that way back we all had that connection and we all lived with the earth. It didn't matter if you were German or who you were, right? And somewhere along the way, people got away from that, right? Except the Shinabe.
So then, from a sustainable environmental perspective, what do you think is the biggest challenge facing Native Americans today?
Well, I talked a little bit about it. I think our biggest challenge is just what I said. Revitalizing and reconnecting with the earth. Reconnecting with the earth because that's the only way how we're gonna survive. Living with the earth. Okay? Sustainability. I mean our people, Chippewas, we've been sustainability for thousands of years. And we know that concept. We've been practicing that. We practice that for long. We have that inherent practice of that, we doing that. But it just so happens that, boy, I tell you what, if we all had to rely on the Wawashishi, you think we could? If we all had to rely on deer meat, do you think we could all rely on that? You think if Walmart or all these stores ever existed, we'd be able to rely on Wawashishi? You think all of us could rely on wild rice? I don't think there'd be enough resources, right? And the next worry I am about is water. Clean, pure water. That is the next challenge that I think we're going to be faced with, is water. So what I was going to finish saying, is for an example, I know a little bit in Red Cliff. I don't know about any other place. But there's some of us, group in Red Cliff, for an example, learning how to garden, right? How to garden. I mean, holy cripes, I can't plant corn, but I'm trying to. My corn, it goes that high, then it falls over. I don't know how to plant it, right? But there's more and more people that I've noticed planting, doing things, right? Growing food. And I'm even trying to raise chickens, actually. And I'm not having any luck. I started off 2 years ago with 50 chickens. I ended up with 1 duck. They all died. See, you have to learn that. So you're talking sustainability. Did our people ever have these sorts of things, you know? I mean, we're going to have to be very creative and learn how to survive these ways to sustain ourselves. Food, water, and shelter.
So, what from your teaching is there that can help us meet these challenges?
Be respectful of the earth and of each other. That's the biggest challenge. Love your people, care for your children, and set a foundation. Set a foundation so that those who are not born yet are able to survive. That's our challenge. And to collaborate and work together.